Okay. Welcome everyone. I know we have a lot of new faces here in person, and also for our Shabbat service, morning service, and also online. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And I'd like to talk about two things from the Torah portion. One of them is from, let's start with the first Torah portion, the first Aliyah. It says in Exodus chapter 13, verse 17, since Pharaoh had to send the people out, God did not lead them via Philistia because it was nearby, for God said the people may have a change of heart when they see war and return to Egypt. So God led the people via the desert toward the Sea of Reeds. The Israelites were armed when they went up from Egypt. Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had bound the sons of Israel by an oath that they should bind by an oath, saying, I'm going to switch over to the Hebrew here. Pakod yifkod Elohim etchem v'ha'alitem et atzmotai mize etchem. Or God will surely remember you, and you must take up my bones from here with you. Now, and then later, or actually in 2 Kings, it says that we're going to focus on the bones, okay? In 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 20 to 22, if you remember that once, while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders. So they threw the man's body into Elisha's tomb. And when the body touched Elisha's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. Do you remember that story? Does anyone remember that story? 2 Kings 13, 20 to 22. Now let's talk about bones. Bones are a very important part of our body. They provide structural support. They protect our organs like our skull, our rib cage, our pelvis, etc. They store minerals for us. They're a reservoir for calcium and phosphorus and other things that we need. They also produce our blood cells, which to me that seems interesting, very interesting, that our bone marrow, which is in the center of our bones, is responsible for producing our red blood and white blood cells and platelets, which is super important for our immune system and for detoxification and all sorts of things. And also they attach they attach to our muscles and they enable us to move, right? So our bones are very important. Now it says in the Talmud that while all the Israelites were acquiring the gold and silver of the Egyptians before leaving Egypt, Moshe was occupied with the command of Yosef's bones. Now, Yosef, that's in Sotah 13a. Yosef possessed the sign of redemption, for he had prophesied in the verse that we just read, God will surely visit you or remember you. It can also be translated as visit. And this is based on Zohar, Beshalach. And when Yosef made this promise, he was still alive, but he didn't say, you're going to bring back my body. He said, you're going to bring back my bones, or atzmot. That's the Hebrew word. Now, Egyptians mummified dead people, right? So when Yosef's flesh was still on his corpse when they took him out, but the Torah doesn't talk about that. It only talks about his bones, not his body. I mean, we have dug up, mummies even today in our present day, from, hundreds, thousands of years ago, and they still have more than just the bones, right? Well, Yosef was focused on his bones. And so Kabbalists believe that this term is on purpose. The verse can be read, Moshe took atzmut Yosef imo, meaning the very essence of Yosef with him. Yosef was constantly present in Moshe's memory at every step of the Exodus. And in fact, it was later present in the memory of all Israel for the commandment to bury him in the Holy Land. And this was done or completed by all of Israel, according to Joshua 24:32. And we could say that Yosef's activity as a protector of his family did not end when he died. His merits, his righteousness, his righteous deeds throughout his life, his merits were present in all Israel during the whole process of the redemption of the nation of Israel, to the point that the whole nation is called Yosef by his name. All of Israel is called by his name in Psalm chapter 80, verse 2. it says, O shepherd of Israel, you who leads Yosef like a flock. So in this verse, it's calling all of Israel by the name of Yosef. Now, again, in the Zohar, Beshalach, and also in the Midrash on Psalms, it investigates on the verse, the sea saw and fled. This is a verse from Psalm. It says the sea, talking about the Red Sea, saw and fled. And Rabbi Yitzhak says, he asks, what did the sea, the ocean, see? What did the sea see? It saw the coffin of Yosef and fled from before it. For it's written, the same expression about him in the verse, left his garments in her hand and fled and got him out, Genesis 39:12. As retribution of Yosef's righteousness, the sea fled from the one who fled. What's it talking about? If Yosef could go against his nature and flee from a sexual temptation in order to honor Hashem, which is associated with water, as a sexual sin in the days of Noah was punished with water, then the sea could go against its nature and split in order to honor Hashem as well. According to the Rabbi Nachman of Breslev, even all the process from the Exodus to the way to the Holy Land was achieved by the merits of Yosef. As it's stated literally by Yosef, God will surely visit you and you will ascend, or you will bring up, you will make my bones make aliyah, basically. But it's not just my bones, but it's my essence. My essence will go up with you. Because the word bones, it's related to the Hebrew word for meaning essence. So it's thus written, Yosef sustains his father and his brothers and his father's entire house. That's from Genesis 47:12. It was speaking of a physical sustenance, but spiritually, the Kabbalists say it's talking about so much more. It's on account of his righteousness that all these miracles happened. Now in Egypt, Genesis 50:26, Yosef's body was preserved and secluded very narrowly in a coffin. And this is related to the word, the coffin. It's like this small confined space, right? And this is also what Mitzrayim, it means narrow straits. This word for coffin and this word for Mitzrayim, Egypt, they have similarities. And the bones, the atzmot of Yosef, were supposed to be delivered and buried in the Holy Land and returned to the ground so that the Holy Land could be impregnated or fertilized by Yosef's essence, by the righteous man's essence. And this is stated by the Vilna Gaon, that almost every mention of Yosef or the Tzaddik in the Bible refers to an aspect of Mashiach ben Yosef. And of course we can see, if we believe in Yeshua, there are many parallels that we can see, right? Yeshua was also righteous all his life, and it was through his merit, his death and his descension to the grave, to Sheol, spiritually, that the whole world was inspired to, return to Hashem and his Torah. And this is what the Rambam says. Even though the Rambam didn't believe in Yeshua as Messiah, the Rambam said that he admitted that it was through Yeshua and his disciples that the whole world now knows about Hashem and his Torah, even though imperfectly still. Now, in the third portion, it says, God said to Moshe, why are you crying out to me? Speak to the Israelites and let them journey forth. Vayamar Adonai el Moshe, ma titzak elai, deber Benei Israel, vayisa'u. Go forth. Okay, go forth. And there's in the Talmud, there's a Midrash, Sota 37a, of the story of Nachshon. Okay, so we have this idea in the Midrash, and we read Rav Safa's book that he gave us about this Midrashim, stories from the Midrashim. And a lot of them sound really, really crazy, right? But if we have to admit, though, that there are many Midrashim in the Brit Hadashah, in the New Testament. And so these Midrashim, many of them, I don't believe in every single one of them, but many of them were were honored to be even in the Brit Hadashah and to support the witness of Yeshua in the Gospels. And so, a lot of them, they're very hard to swallow, and we reject literally. But we were talking about it when Rav Reuven was reading it this week. He was reading about this midrash about Nachshon. And I was reminding the children, remember, whether or not the midrashim are true, there is truth within them. There is a moral lesson that we are supposed to learn from them. So this one is from the Talmud, and it says, Rabbi Yehuda said, none of the tribes were willing to go first into the sea. Then Nachshon, the son of Aminadab, leapt forth, descended into the sea. Regarding his struggle in the sea, the scriptures say in Psalm 69, save me, O God, for the waters have threatened my life. I have sunk in deep mire, and there is no foothold. I have come into deep waters, and a flood overflows me. May the flood of water not overflow me, nor the deep swallow me up, nor the pit shut its mouth on me. Meanwhile, Moshe was busy making long petitions of prayer. The Holy One, blessed be he, scolded him. My beloved ones are about to drown in the sea, and you are making long prayers before me? Moshe asked him, Master of the universe, what can I possibly do? He answered in Exodus 14:15, why are you crying out to me? Tell the sons of Israel to go forward. As for you, lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the sons of Israel shall go through the midst of the sea on dry land. Because of Nachshon's faith and bravery, the tribe of Yehuda was worthy to be given dominion over Israel. As it is said in Psalms 114:2, Yehuda became his sanctuary, Israel his dominion. Why did Yehuda become his sanctuary and Israel his dominion? Because, as it says in the next verse, the sea looked, who did it look at? And the Midrash says the sea looked at Nachshon and fled. On account of Yosef's bones, of course, right? As we learned in the other Midrash. But regardless, it was, and I see it, it's kind of like, Yeshua, right? He did all these things. He did all these miracles. And, people ask us oftentimes, because we're such a spectacle, our congregation, because we are believers of Yeshua, followers of, the Brit Hadashah. But at the same time, we are also dedicated to Torah Judaism, to the point where we, have made a formal conversion and are guided by Orthodox rabbis who, by the way, are not Messianic, but they know that we are Messianic, and they support us anyways because of our commitment to Torah. And we're doing such a strange thing, and I feel like sometimes we are like Nachshon, in terms of, we feel in our hearts and our souls that this is the right way, that we are supposed to walk with Yeshua because he is the one that inspired our families to give up paganism, to draw close to the Bible and to Hashem and his Torah. It was Yeshua's example. It was Yeshua's gospels, Yeshua's Talmidim that sent emissaries all over the world to say, salvation is here. And, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the Jewish people, he wants to save you, you Gentiles. And so we want to honor that. But we also want to enter into this promised land, and this Torah covenant. And it's like a new thing in our generation, and I know that many in the past have tried, but they have failed, and they either absorb into the Jewish community and drop Yeshua, or they go back to just normal Christianity. And usually I know some, I've heard of some, they go into the Greek Christian Orthodox or the Baha'i faith, or just become agnostics or atheists or whatever, and we walk a very fine line. And I feel like we are like soldiers, but I also sometimes feel like we're like Nachshon, and they're like, okay, we're supposed to do this thing. We believe that Hashem wants to cross, these waters out of Egypt into this Torah covenant-based promised land, but there's just water. There's nothing, and there's people coming behind us saying, no, you're not supposed to do that. You can't do that. you're denying Yeshua, you're being legalistic, et cetera, all these different voices that are, coming, like trying to discourage us. And we have to be like, you know what? It doesn't matter if we see a clear path or not. If we believe that this is the right way, we should walk in it. We should support it. We should have faith. We should take the first step, and we should continue going even when the world looks bleak, even when our numbers are small, even when people, mock us and, whatever it may be, even when our faith is tested and tried, we should be like Nachshon. And at the same time, we should also be like Yosef, not just walking this way, but making sure our hearts are correct and that we are truly walking in righteousness and holiness, because we can't move forward in our walk in faith unless we are living the life of holy people, because we can't expect to have our prayers answered if we are breaking the Torah covenant, which gives our prayers power. And so I just wanted to end with an encouragement for us to be like Yosef and walk in righteousness, even when, even if we are imprisoned, even to that point, even if we are sold by our brothers, even to that point, be faithful to Hashem, and also to be like Nachshon, and to believe in the promises, even when the whole world and even creation itself seems to be in our path and blocking us, because Hashem ultimately is the ruler of both man and creation, and he will make a way, but we have to take the first step.
Oh, man. And even be like Miriam and prepare for the victory that's coming. All right. Don't speak Lashon Hara. That's true. All right. So